All right, Roto Grinders, here we are. It's another Sunday Fun Day. I love saying that. It makes my day go so much more smoothly. And speaking of smooth, we have the dulcet tones of one Andrew Louiescards Cook. Andrew, say hello to your friends out in Chatland.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
I think we're doing good. I think here we are again. I've got another St. Louis Cardinals fan on the show with me. We're going to talk about some St. Louis Cardinals. It's funny how that works. But we have an interesting slate today because when I'm on, it is always interesting. We've got some gas cans on the mound. We've got some premium pitchers. We have a team that has completely forgotten how to score runs. That's right. Pair of runs in a pair of games. Coors Field, Pirates versus lefties. Say it ain't so. I guess STL Cards was right, and the Pirates are not good. How was your night last night, Andrew? Did you do any gaming, any fun, or were you being the appropriate family man that you normally are?
Yesterday was a family day. It was the first off day I've had since the All-Star break, so it's kind of nice. I like to take a day or two here and there. But it was fun hanging out with the family, looking forward to getting back into the action. I got to miss a lot of the McCutcheon and the rest of the Pirates bitching that everybody else had, so I'm immune to that. I will still be playing them today. You guys all go ahead and jump off the bandwagon now. They're getting Morales, who is probably the worst of the bunch, so feel free to jump off now.
Isn't that funny how through the first half of the season the Pittsburgh Pirates had played the fewest left-handed starters in the majors, and they are one of the teams best set up to take on left-handed pitching. And then this Coors, or not just Coors, but the Colorado Rockies running, 4 out of 5 starters are lefties?
Mm-hmm. It's and not necessarily good lefties. Sure, Anderson's typically a ground ball pitcher, so that one kind of, was a little less appealing than some of the others, but they're not great pitchers either. It is a little surprising that the Pirates didn't do any damage to the first two guys again.
Yes. Oh, painful. But we got a lot to talk about, so we'll get to plenty of Colorado action. But quickly, speaking of pain, I just wanted to throw out there before we even get to pitchers that Carlos Chooch Ruiz is not in the starting lineup.
Yeah, that does hurt. I wrote him up in the daily plays today as my top catcher, and of course he's not playing today. Not sure if he got hurt or if it's just a rest day for Sunday, But he was an obvious play to me. He was underpriced just about everywhere, and now we have to put somebody else in that we don't feel quite as good about.
That is true, but got a few guys out there lined up for you that we will mention. So let's start off with pitchers. Let's start off with the top. As always, the guest whose favorite pitcher is going to be our top play can talk about him. Try not to polish up the knobs too much.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's Wainwright. It probably appears to be a homer pick given the track record against the Cubs this season. A couple things, if you read the daily plays, Wainwright has a very solid track record bouncing back from games where he pitched 5 innings or less in his career, and that's the case today. A lot of people are pointing to the fact that the Cubs have hit him very well this season, and that is true. The numbers are somewhat inflated, though. He's given up 4 home runs on the season, 4. 3 of them are to Cubs. So I think that's a little bit of an outlier to me personally that added a little bit more pain to some of those starts than typically we will see from him. So today all the stars are aligning. He's going to dominate them, and he's always got the K upside. We all know that. So he's my top guy. He's not over, crazy priced. I think he's fair at 10.5 on DraftKings. If he was in the 12 range, I think we start going to Casimir, no doubt. But at 10.5, it's $1,500 difference. I really like him today.
Yes, there's not much pricing differentiation at the top, so I think you can stretch, get Wainwright in, and be happy. Here is one interesting fact. I have sort of created my own new metric. I'm sure it exists somewhere, but I haven't seen it. So I wanted to see how, especially this far in the season when teams have played different numbers of games, and it's very hard to tell how many at-bats or how many innings were against lefties or righties, etc. So I came up with a number just to give myself a general directional indicator of where a team stands amongst all 30 teams in the league, and I like to see scoring efficiency against lefties or righties. So what I have been doing the last couple of weeks is taking runs scored against whichever pitching hand it is divided by at-bats, just so I can kind of gauge how much or how little somebody scores. Now, usually the better teams score about every 7 to 8 at-bats, regardless of hand. The worst teams, like I'm looking at you, San Diego Padres, like 11 at-bats per. Now, you think that, oh, well, that's only 4 at-bats difference. But remember, that adds up over time, and it really starts to extrapolate, because if you think the average Major League game, 9 innings, 3 outs, that's 27 at-bats, say one runner gets on base every inning, now all of a sudden you're at 36 at-bats, and if you only score once every 11, hello, Padres, 3.1 points a game, or runs per game. So I looked at that, and while the Cubs had some decent numbers, they were actually, let me see here, 3rd worst with regards to efficiency in scoring against righties. So I just wanted to throw that out there to counterbalance the 18 innings in which they faced Wainwright and gotten 12 runs off him, including 3 of the 4 homers he's given up, as you have pointed out. So let's pick on the Cubbies today. One last thought. I know you're out in that direction because I'm on Hangouts. I can't quite look at the weather because we're going old school today. What is the weather nearby, since you are sort of out that way? Is there anything of concern in that game?
To be honest, it's hard for me to tell because it will rain at my house. I'm about 20 minutes from the ballpark, and it will completely miss downtown. A lot of the time, if we're getting rain, it's fine downtown. If we're not getting rain, but there's a storm coming through, it's going to hit downtown. It's one of those weird things for me where generally, unless I'm a little bit closer to the park, I'm not going to be able to give you a good read. It's clear as can be at my house right now. So. All
right. So, fair enough. There we go. One last thought before we talk about some other pitchers here. The game is in Chicago. Sorry, I should have specified that for you. But that was fun. I was laughing on the inside.
Wow. You're killing me. I told you I
wasn't trying to do that. I wasn't trying.
Oh, man.
My apologies.
I didn't even catch it. You're nice.
I didn't either. Till all of a sudden I started thinking, oh, shoot. I thought it was in Chicago.
You didn't do that on purpose. I thought you were saying
No. I didn't do that.
How many sodas?
Chat, sorry.
Nobody asked you today. How many sodas?
What's the over-under? We'll set the over-under at 3.5.
3? Oh, so they were right. They said you didn't seem as peppy in the intro. That seems kind of low.
That's low, and I'm actually on the under. I'm getting a little tired. I'm a little slow. So, well, that's okay. I've got my glass here, so we're good. Just in case, I've got a can of reinforcements, so we will make sure those are gone by the top of the hour. We'll see what happens.
There you go.
So, getting back on track, a little pep in my step. Here we go. The hits, the hats, the wax, everything that your normal DJ, voice, radio guy loves. Let's talk about some other pitchers here. We've got Scotty Kazmir, spelled with a K, and he has one impressive strikeout rate. So there we go. See, I can turn it on, but it's just not sustained. All right, Scott Kazmir. Texas! What the hell happened to Texas? They can't score runs anymore. They're horrible. I don't even know I'm flabbergasted. I can't even come up with something to say. But Kazmir, actually favorite on the road, significant favorite on the road, in a good spot, sort of reinvented himself a little bit last year while he was with Cleveland, post Tampa Bay. I think he's kind of our number 2 pitcher on the day. The next 2 guys I was looking at would be Doug Fister and Jacob deGrom. I like deGrom a little better. I don't really want to pay that price today on DraftKings, so I am going elsewhere for that. But I do like his price, deGrom's, over there on FanDuel. Fister kind of fell out a little bit. There's some weather issues there. And do you know that over his last 10 games, Fister has scored accumulated 3.6 strikeouts on average? That is it. That is bad. That is. In DFS, if you're not going to get the win, you got to get strikeouts. There's not a good baseline there. So as excited as I was to take him, and I will be watching that game, of course, because they are the Nationals, I'm not going to be pitching with him. And then one other guy I thought about was Chris Archer today. So Chris Archer is kind of interesting in that he doesn't really get blown up all that often. And he is facing a call-up from Pawtucket in, what's his name? Alan Webster. And I think that Tampa Bay is going to hang around long enough to get him the win. If he can hang around long enough to stay in the game till they get the lead. So those are the kind of the guys I am looking at. Who are you?
For
choosing?
me, it's Kazmir's my clear number 2. After that, there's about 5 to 8 guys maybe that are all in the same boat. You didn't mention Jimmy Nelson. I actually think I like him the best out of the group that were all paired together. I liked Hendricks more before I saw the Cardinals lineup. They loaded up on lefties. I think that's a good move today. So I'm going to go ahead and stay away from Hendricks. Even though I wrote him up in the daily plays as a GPP option, I think I'm going to take him off of the board for that because you have a bunch of other guys in similar situations that are slightly better. You mentioned DeGrom. The only downside, his downside is he plays Milwaukee. You have Latos and Pfister with low K rates. You have Mike Minor dealing with throwing it right down the middle, basically. He seems to have lost his command to where he's just grooving it because he can't get it over the plate. Then you got a guy like Colin McHugh in Houston that kind of creeps up the board a little bit as a sneaky GPP play, and I'll just say that anytime he's on my radar, it's going to be a bad day for pitchers. You're going to have all those guys that are in the same boat, and you can pick something out of each start that doesn't look good for you. So for me, I'm gonna stay away from DeGrom. Milwaukee is just hitting every pitcher they face, so I think it's going to be Nelson for my secondary if I can't fit Kazmir in.
Yeah, I'm just checking that out. I did create a set of lineups over there on FanDuel with Nelson as my pitcher. I think he's 5,100. Oh, you can get some Colorado guys. You can get some Baltimore guys. You can get the Seattle left-handed bats. You can put together a nice little team if you go that route. On our sponsor, DraftKings, let me just see what his price is. Sorry, I do all the sites in the morning, so they all kind of start to blend together. 6,700. That is definitely a good deal. I went with his teammate yesterday, Silly Willie Peralta, which was about the same price, and he was okay. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. I don't mind that from Nelson. So the Mets scuffling a little bit. They're going pretty heavy righty today. Not that they have much of a choice. So I'm in on Nelson. We'll go with that. DeGrom's price is a little higher than I wanted, but he's been averaging almost 10 Ks per game over his last 4 starts. So he does have that nice baseline. You're playing with fire with Milwaukee though. So maybe not on our cash games.
Yeah, DeGrom's one of those pitchers where if you watch the Mets when he pitches, his fastball looks pretty flat to me. He must have really deceptive delivery because it comes in pretty flat. It is a little bit faster than some, but he looks like a guy that should get hit harder than he does. So that scares me a lot when you're talking about deception and things like that. I don't know. Milwaukee just scares me as a whole. At this point in the season, they've proven they're not gonna stop. They're gonna keep going. Wait till September to fail, I guess, like they always do.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of command and control, Greg Maddux, congratulations, Hall of Fame induction today. Very good, very exciting. And he has one of the best lines in advertising history. Chicks dig the long ball. That was a good commercial when that came out. All right.
Levin, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it's Tommy G. Not that Tommy G, but the other Tommy G. Anyway, let's talk catchers. So we know that Chooch is out. So I guess my next best guy, and I'm going to check the lineup real quick. Miguel Montero. We have him batting cleanup, lefty-righty matchup against Roberto Hernandez, Fausto Carmona, who does not pitch well regardless of what name he is going by. So I think I'm going to attempt to shift most of my action to Montero, which means I'm going to have to rework a couple things because Chooch was at such a good price. I'm looking at punting on catcher today. Nobody really jumped out at me as a good play. Potentially the newest St. Louis Cardinal, A.J. Pierzynski, batting 6th in a lefty-righty matchup. Now, he was outrighted by by Boston. Not sure why. He's still serviceable. He's not an easy out, but he's not the guy he was 10 years ago. I mean, my God, he's been in the leagues for 15 years, so you can only do so much. But I'm probably going to go with Montero in most places. Who do you have your eye on now that we've been just sorely disappointed by Philadelphia.
Yeah, so Ruiz was obviously my number one. Gomes and Montero were the other two guys that are priced up a little bit that on DraftKings that I like. Gomes versus a lefty. You already covered Montero. He's facing Fausto, Roberto Hernandez in Philly, so that's a good matchup for him. If you want to dip down a little bit, Rene Rivera is like 2,700, I believe, on DraftKings today. So facing Minor that we just talked about, who can't seem to get guys out right now. I mean, the Marlins were squaring him up his last outing, so that should tell you something. And then you got guys like the disappointing McCann. You got Sal Perez, who I don't hate, and that's about it. Catcher doesn't look that appealing after Ruiz is gone.
Yeah, on FanDuel, 2,500, Jason Castro had a home run last night. We talked about him on the show a little bit. He's going nice lefty-righty matchup against Turner. And then Stephen Vogt. I'm leaning towards him. Just be aware, gamers, John Jaso, though he did hit a home run last night, he did leave the game early with a bit of a knee injury. Not like a bent back or a hit, but just some discomfort, some clicking. So he may get the day off, which actually bodes well for Vogt because there's less reason to pinch hit for him in the event they feel that need to do so. And they are the Oakland Athletics, so they feel the need to tweak constantly. So that's kind of it for catcher. I'm a little sad. Russell the Love Muscle, we got him out there. We've got Evan Gattis. They're getting a little pricey, and I think if we want to get Wainwright and Kazmir on DraftKings, our sponsor, you're going to have to go cheap in several spots. And there's not as many cheap guys as there used to be. It seems to be that 35, 3,600 is the new cheap. A lot of bats are now in the 5K range. Pretty much if you're an all-star, you're 5K. They're changing the pricing throughout the season, as we've seen. I've noticed FanDuel's doing something similar. Now, I do not mind this one bit because if we are grinders, we should know how to spot the inaccuracies, arbitrage the difference, etc., get the value, ring it out wherever it is. So I don't mind that it's kind of like a wave and it just kind of comes hither and yon and moves around. So I don't mind it looking like this. We just have to think a little more than just going in and picking and clicking. So, any other catchers, or shall we move on to first base, Andrew?
Yeah, I think, catcher isn't necessarily a bad position today, but when you factor price at DraftKings is what I'm talking about. Yeah, these guys post, Castro, Gaddis, heck, even like a Posey if he's playing versus left. Navarro is another good one that they posted in there. He's hitting a lot better lately, showing some of the promise that he had shown in the past. All those guys are legitimate options. You just got to be careful with pricing if you want to get quality pitching today.
Yep, that is all true. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, I did. All right. So, first base.
Man, you're just killing me today.
I have to. It's fun.
Cover the chat. All right.
It's fun. It's all we gotta get a little.
I need a 5-hour energy or something. I'm dying over here.
I know. I'm not carrying both of us. I should be able to. We'll have to get to work on it. So I was up till 1:30 last night. Darn the workbook here. So we do a lot of stuff in Excel, and I have a big giant workbook, and we upload it, download it, pass it back and forth all the time. And the damn thing crashes my computer, and I have a new computer. So when it goes down, it takes down every Excel article with it or workbook with it, and I have to reopen them all, and it's a pain. So lather, rinse, repeat. That was my evening. But first base, Gabby Sanchez. Are we going back to Pittsburgh? I say yes. Pittsburgh can't score one run again. Can they? Well, they can. Let's hope they score about one an inning. I'm going with Gabby as some of my exposure to this game. I haven't been able to really fit McCutchen on my team because I'm paying for pitching today. But I want some exposure here, and Sanchez seems to be pretty cheap at DraftKings at 3,600, FanDuel at 2,200. So I think he fits the bill for that. I don't mind Darren Ruff. I've actually got him at outfield right now on DraftKings. I like the dual eligibility. He is sort of I was hoping for him and Ruiz, and I was making some really wickedly nice lineups. That did not happen, but we've still got Ruff. And if we're talking about a premium play, I think you really, really, really have to consider I want to get my numbers here. You have to think about Paul Goldschmidt. I was looking this up, and it shocked me just how good he's become against right-handed pitchers. Dating back to last year, he's got a 398 WOBA, a 930 OPS, and 102 extra base hits in 770 at bats. So I think he's sneaky good. You've got Moss, lefty-righty matchup. He's nice. Carlos Santana, I'd rather play him at third, but on some sites he is first base eligible. I think he's okay. If you're going to punt, James Loney, Dan Johnson's out there on a couple sites. And then my gut call home run of the day was going to be, I was going back to the well. I was going to say with Adam LaRoche, but Matt Latos has some sneaky good numbers. He's got this year he has a batting average against for lefties and righties are both under 200. So while the Nats are not an easy lineup to get through, I don't really want to pick any of them going against him. So that leaves us with Matt Adams. So flesh out any of those guys where you have some sneaky stats that you want to highlight. I know Matt Adams will be one of them.
Yeah, so I'm with you on Goldie being a top option if you're paying up today. I wrote him up in the daily plays. You mentioned it. You have a WOBA near 400 and OPS over 900 and over 900 plate appearances dating back to last season. That tells you that he's doing this on a consistent basis. He's getting a guy in Roberto Hernandez that's not much trouble against either lefties or righties. He gets himself into trouble with walks and command. They're playing in a park where home runs fly out of there. Everything is great there if you can afford them. Guys, I also like Sanchez again. He's super cheap. Historical stats are there. He's sneaky against left-handed pitchers, and guys still don't trust him. He's been pretty solid, guys. If you're gonna fade the big guys, Sanchez or Loney, you mentioned good options. All the top guys, I think are in play. You got Ortiz, you got Gonzo, you got V-Mart, I think even you got Adam Dunn in play today against Pino. So it's a day where first base, the options are pretty much wherever you want to go with it. You can feel good about plugging in any of those guys you mentioned and I mentioned. And it's just going to come down to how much you want to pay for first base. That pretty much everybody we mentioned has home run potential. They're gonna be in a spot where they produce more often than not. So paying down for a Sanchez or a Loney, maybe that makes sense to you. It's not going to kill you on a day like today to get two quality pitchers paid on at first base and still have the upside for a home run or two. So right now I'm going to try to fit Goldie in. I have the sneaking suspicion I'm not going to be able to because I have a couple guys I like better at other positions, but if I don't, it's probably going to be go down to Sanchez and pay up elsewhere.
Yeah, and if you want to go really extreme, we do have Dan Johnson here batting fifth, lefty-righty matchup against Green at 2K, the minimum. So that means you're not going to have Sanchez, which is one less spot to get a cheaper bat in Coors Field, but $1,600 cheaper, you can definitely upgrade probably two other spots to somebody a little more significant if you can get to the mid 4,500 range for, say, your outfield or second or third base. Speaking of second base, look at that professional segue we've got going on there, Andrew. We have my favorite, well, my second favorite Mariner, Robinson Cano. Third in the league in batting average. He's not hitting for power, but I looked up some interesting numbers on him this morning. Did you know that he has played in 47 games since June 2nd? Now, he had missed 4 games before that. It was some sort of illness or something. I'm not sure exactly what. But in those 47 games, he has 36 games with a hit. Half of them have been multi-hit games. That is pretty impressive. That is Matt Carpenter-like for having a nice floor in your cash games. So I like Cano. I also like Kyle Seager. You can play him at second on DraftKings, so those are kind of my two options. I'm trying to get them both in my lineups, but since that Ruiz news has come out, I haven't quite rejiggered those. Ben Zobrist having himself a weekend. 4 hits on Friday, home run last night, and he goes against the rookie. Well, I don't know that he's a rookie, but the recent Pawtucket, whatever they are, Boston team, AAA team, Alan Webster. So got to like Zobrist in there. D. Gordon, Can you ever go wrong with D. Gordon going against Jake Peavy? Peavy can sort of forget people are on first sometimes. It's interesting watching him pitch. Who's his name? Hawk Harrelson used to kind of love that. I'd get pissy about it, but that's okay. That's his default position, is just pissy and bitter at life. So that's the premium guys. If you're going to punt, may I introduce you to one Ryan Rayburn, who is down there in the dregs. He is hitting like he belongs in the dregs this season in lefty-righty matchups. However, if we look back to 2012 and 13, he does warrant some consideration today. And I believe last weekend we played him in a similar situation and recommended him. I think he got a home run. So it's not a bad way to go cheap. So those are kind of the guys I'm looking at. Again, Cano is my top end, and then Rayburn is at the bottom end, and a couple decent guys in the middle. Who are you liking at the keystone position today, Andrew?
Yeah, so a lot of those guys I like. Cano, he's kind of expensive for me today. Seager, I have him down as third base as one of the top options. So I'm perfectly fine with those guys if you can fit them in. I think Zobrist is my number one play. I'll probably pencil him in most of my lineups and just move on. He's hitting second. You mentioned he's facing Webster, who hasn't pitched well in the majors. He's done very good in the minors, has a really good track record there, but in the 2 opportunities he's had in the majors, he's got lit up, or he's had more than 2 opportunities, I'm sorry. He's got lit up by teams like, I think even San Diego is on that list of teams that have hit him well. So, you know, take advantage of these guys. The Rays aren't really priced up very much. They have a good amount of left-handed hitters that can, you know, get you some production. Loney, Zobrist, Joyce. I guess that's about it. But still, all 3 of those guys are in play today for me. Then if you want to be sneaky or look for a GPP play, take a look at a guy like Jason Kipnis, left on left, Bruce Chen. Chen is a little bit slightly below average versus lefties as a left-handed pitcher, and Kipnis is above average left versus left as a hitter. So I don't think a lot of people will be on him as high as they would be if he was facing a righty, and it's something that I've done in the past with good success. Getting Kipnis at lower ownership tends to be a good thing, so I just want to throw that out there. I think Altuve is a good option if you can pay up that much, but there's no way I'm paying for him. Is Walker in play today? I don't know. I think Walker is an option, and La Stella also. Outside of that, there's not too many more guys I would go with. I'm rolling Zobrist in most of my lineups, and like I said, just moving on.
Yeah, I think La Stella is a good one to remember. What about little Colton Wong? A little pricey today, but batting second. All of a sudden, he goes down to the minors, comes back. He can run, he can hit, and their algorithm caught up to him. What are your thoughts on him today?
Yeah, so Kipnis is out. Sorry about that, guys. Colton Wong is somebody I wrote up as a GPP play in the daily plays. His price has crept up, like you mentioned. He's not a home run guy. I know a lot of guys that don't follow baseball or are new to DFS and just started playing, and he had like 5-6 home runs there in a week and a half. He's not that guy. He really isn't. It's very fluky that he hit that many home runs. So his upside is limited when his price jumps. He can get a stolen base. He can get multi-hit games. He will do that, but don't bank on home runs from him. So for me, you stick to GPP and you're fine with him. I don't know if I'd roll him in cash today.
All right. I see chat is looking for the Freddie Gonzalez Atlanta Braves lineup. There's a couple interesting start times today. The Braves do not start till 5. I highly doubt we will see that lineup before 2 o'clock, which means the games will already lock on East Coast time. But if you are playing on DraftKings, our sponsor, we do have the late swap feature. And I believe that Gaddis is around 4,000 or 4,100, and there are a couple other options at that price point. If you're trying to give yourself an out, I would only play him on Gaddis, that is, on DraftKings, because we don't know that he will be in the lineup or not. I suspect he will, but we'll see. Let's see. Third base or shortstop? Where would you like to go?
Either way, that's fine with me. Third base.
let's go third base. We'll segue from second base to third base with our pal Kyle Seager. As mentioned, Andrew likes him as his top third baseman. I concur. So I'm getting him out there on quite a few lineups today. The other guys I've been looking at, for me, it's kind of a pay position. Adrian Beltre and Josh Donaldson. They're going to be a little spendy, but third base seems to be where I'm willing to spend some money today. I'm punting one outfield spot, kind of going lower on catcher, and it seems that I am able to do that or pay up at third base as long as I'm doing that. Carlos Santana, I think, is good on DraftKings. I want to say 3,500. I'm blanking on that. Anyway, someone will correct me there, I am sure. Too many windows open, and I can see our Google Hangout is lagging.
On DraftKings, or what are you looking for?
DraftKings,
Carlos
Santana. Oh, little spendy. Still like him. He's in a good spot. But again, we got our lenses on where we're looking at Wainwright and Kazmir. So chat, we're looking kind of one step down from a lot of these top plays. Both of us have written up articles. We've put some premium plays in there. We're just trying to talk you through how we would develop our lineups today and what we're looking at. So the guys like Trout and Miggy and top tier guys like that, you're not going to hear us mention them too much today. There just really isn't the pitching value to get them in there because pitching is so much of a crapshoot. So that's why this show may seem like we're reaching a little bit and bypassing some really good names, but that is the main reason we're doing that, because that is probably the way you're going to want to go to do well in your cash games today. So that said, let's use a neat feature on here. This is the Roto Grinders lineup page, and what I like about this, it's one of the niftiest tools that we have built. Riley has it all set up for us. We now have added in over-unders and projected game scores for each team. Across the top, there's tabs for each of the sites. We have an automatic feed that comes in from, I want to say, RotoWire, that feeds the lineups as soon as they are released by Major League Baseball. And we have weather here that will take you to the weather page. But the niftiest feature of all is you can click by position, and it will highlight whichever positions you're looking at. So right now, I want to find some alternative third baseman to throw out there so we can discuss. So I click on the old third base line, and I see, Connor Gillespie, batting 6, 4,200. That's a potential play. David Wright, righty-righty matchup. No pun there, sorry. Really, I don't know that I want to go there. Marwin Gonzalez. Let's talk about Marwin Gonzalez for a second. There might be a cheap guy. 2,900. He qualifies at short and third. Any thoughts on him? Or his teammate Matt Dominguez got a home run for us last week. That was very nice. He's batting fifth at 3,600. Thoughts on those two?
Yeah, they're both punt more than a value play. I think you're just looking to get somebody at a cheap price that's in the lineup in a somewhat good order of the lineup. So you said fifth and fifth and seventh. I don't know where. I don't have the lineups in front of me, but so they're more of a punt. I don't know that you have to do that. I think third base is a position you might want to pay up for today. Somebody that you didn't mention, I don't think, is Chris Johnson. They're facing Stoltz. Whenever they're facing a lefty, they tend to move him up in the lineup. He'll be batting fifth or sixth most likely, and he absolutely crushes left-handed pitching. The stats are pretty amazing. He'll fly under the radar for most people. With Seager on the board today as a good option, I expect him to be even lower owned because of that. I think Chris Johnson might be my top option when you consider price today. The numbers are in the elite territory versus the left, dating back to last season. This season, he's batting over 400 against them with a high OPS. He's one of those guys in DFS or even in real baseball, nobody really talks about the guy, but he gives you a solid production just about any time he faces a lefty.
Now, he didn't win the batting title last year, but wasn't he top 10 most of the year?
He was 1-2 with Molina, and there's another guy, and I can't even remember who won the title last year. Was it? It wasn't Molina either, was it?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know he was up there most of the year. So
he led the majority of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, he just had a horrible cold spell to start the season. So that's a good point to bring him up. Also, Josh Harrison qualifies at third on DraftKings, so you can get him at 3,900 for a little exposure to Coors Field. Nolan Arenado, more for the glove, did hit a home run last night. We talked about him on the show. What about Matt Carpenter? Talk a little bit about him today. And then I had one other cheat play that I just found. Oh, Jack Hanahan. 2K. Third base punt for Cincinnati. So you can roll him out there if you need salary relief and you decide to do it at third base. But let's talk a little Matt Carpenter. How does he set up against the pitcher he's facing today?
I think he sets up pretty well. Mentioned it earlier. I was higher on Hendricks before I saw the Cardinals' whole lineup. The lefties, I think, are in a good spot today. And if you've been watching any of the Cardinal games, you'll notice that Carpenter's starting to put it together. He's really hitting the ball solid. He put one out yesterday or the day before. He's getting just about every time he puts the bat on the ball, it's a hard hit, even if it is an out. It's a line drive type out. Really solid play if you're willing to pay the price. He's a guy that is traditionally a cash game player that you can rely on to not, completely hose you. And I think what he's starting to do is become a little bit more of a GPP guy too, where he's adding a little bit more value, and so are the Cardinals if they're hitting behind him. So Carpenter's in a solid position today to do some damage. I like it.
All right, so many choices there. One place I'm only finding 3 choices for my shortstops today. I think me and everybody else, we're all looking at Jordy Mercer. If you're not going to go Mercer, you can get Rutledge. He had a good game yesterday. Both of them are in the Coors Field game. And then if in the lineup, Jed Lowry, whose price has gone down on several sites, and he is hitting much better in the month of July. He's actually doing about 20 plus 25% better in July than he is for his entire season numbers. So he's on the uptick. The algorithm has his price down, and I was very sad he wasn't in the lineup yesterday, but he should be in today. So I like him in Texas, where I think there's going to be some crooked numbers. So I'm really looking at those 3 guys so I can still afford my pitching and the occasional big bat in my lineups. Who do you have at shortstop?
Yeah, it's Mercer for me too. You're not getting killed on the price. If you want to fade Mercer today, Drew is hitting 7th in the lineup. I wish he was hitting a little bit farther up, but he's not bad versus right. He's a guy that's not flashy. He's not going to hit 2 home runs like he did a month ago or whatever that game was. That was ridiculous. But he is a guy that will give you a positive number more often than not, and kind of flies under the radar. He's known as a glove, not as a hitter, but the stats actually say he's a decent enough hitter as well versus right. So Stephen Drew is a guy where, if you're not going Mercer or if you're not going some of those other options you mentioned, I think, take a flyer on him and pay up at other spots.
All right, speaking of Hall of Famers, what about Derek Jeter? 3,700. Rather go with Mercer, I think, on DraftKings, but he's cheaper than that on FanDuel. Any thoughts on Jeter?
Yeah, he gets the lefty split. Now that he's about 100 years old, it's not as prominent as it used to be. But on DraftKings, he's the same price as Mercer, so no for me. But on FanDuel, yeah, sure, why not? If you're getting a discount, I don't know how big it is, but if you're getting a discount and you like your players at other positions, Jeter, I don't think is going to kill you today against Happ. He's just not the Derek Jeter that he was 5-10 years ago, obviously. So, you're playing a little bit of a name there unless you're paying down like on a site like FanDuel. That's my opinion on him.
Yeah, and I think he's 27-ish, 2,800 on FanDuel, so not a bad punt play there. The other guy I like today is Jose Reyes. He's just been a little too spendy. 5,100 on DraftKings, 4,100 on FanDuel. Really can't make that work. Although I did run my Jimmy Nelson lineup. Does feature Jose Reyes on FanDuel. That was my shortstop. So that's kind of the guys I'm looking at there. Chat, let's throw in some questions. I see there's a few in there now. We'll get to them. We've got 20 minutes left. We've got the outfield position to go. We will do a Star Street Pick 5. We'll do a Rapid Fire Max. But let's talk about a couple questions here. Anyone like Ryu? Does it seem to you that the Dodgers play on Sunday Night Baseball more often than the Yankees and Boston combined this season? Like 4 out of the last 6 weeks, it's been them. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals have been in there a couple times too, but here we are again. We got the Dodgers.
Yeah, and it's typically the Dodgers are on there because Kershaw or Greinke are throwing that day, so this is a little bit different than that Ryu is. they're a marquee team now. They've got a bunch of big names on their squad that people buy their jerseys, so ESPN's going to play their games.
Let's see. So, but I don't mind him as a pitcher. I'd rather stick with the guys I mentioned today. Still not getting a good read there on the old San Francisco Giants. They were really good at the beginning of the season. Their offense was really clicking. They've been slumping a little bit. Boy, Ugla almost took 2 out last night, so he scares the hell out of me just anytime he can connect. So I like some other pitchers better than Ryu, so I'm not really in on him tonight. Beltran, former St. Louis Cardinal, or Adam Eaton?
Yeah, I'm going to go Adam Eaton. He's leading off, right? I mean,
yes.
I think the lefties today for the White Sox makes sense to me. So I'll go Eaton.
All right. Jimmy Rollins, a little old man love there. Batting second against Vidal Nuno. I don't mind Rollins. I can put him on out there. 4,200. Again, a little spendy on our sponsor. I think you can get him a little cheaper over there on Fantasy Feud as well as on FanDuel. Let's see. He is 3,300 on FanDuel, so not overly cheap. I think I'd still probably prefer to play Jed Lowry, and he's cheaper on both sides than Jimmy Rollins. Let's see. Rutledge or Alexi Ramirez?
You know what? Alexi's been hot lately, but the one thing that Pino does is get right-handed bats out. He sucks against lefties. He's horrible. But he's really done a good job against righties. I guess I'll lean Rutledge on that one, but it's hard to fade a guy that's hitting as good as Ramirez. Well, considering he's Alexi Ramirez, I guess.
All right. And Jay Hawley Peralta or J.J. Hardy?
That's going to be Peralta for me. He's got more home run upside. He's one of the guys. He's got a huge swing, so where DraftKings, it doesn't hurt you to get if he strikes out or whatever. Peralta seems like the better play to me.
All right, I think that clears the questions there for a little bit. Let's talk some outfielders here. All right, do you want to say his name? Do I want to say his name? If we say his name 3 times in the mirror, will he appear and kill us? That would be one. Andrew McCutchen. 6K on DraftKings. I don't think you can play him today.
I think you can in a GPP where you go with one of those cheaper pitching options. But in your cash lineup, it's going to be rough. I wish he wasn't that high up because I think even at 5K, his ownership would be too low, considering that he's facing Morales. I think what we have today is Justin Upton is 5,300. That's a $700 discount, and we're looking at very similar stats when you look at what they've done versus left-handed pitching. Stoltz is not quite as bad as Morales historically versus right-handed bats, but at the same time, I think Upton's a guy that I'm going to put in my lineups, and I'm calling a home run for Upton today.
Really? Huh.
And he'll probably not be in the lineup.
All right, it's okay. I'm very bold, very bold. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in for a good game. I'm not going to be as bold as to call a home run for him, but got a couple other lefties we want to talk about here in Coors Field. Corey Dickerson and Charlie Blackmon going against Edinson Volquez, who suddenly last week finally remembered that he is Edinson Volquez. Gave up 5 earned runs. He had gone 5 starts with 0 or 1 earned run, and then back to his last Edinson Volquez start of 8 earned runs. So I don't want to play with fire. That's like having fire and matches at the same time. Don't want to do it. Or, pardon me, gas and match. Whatevs. I'm tired. I just poured the last of my soda in my glass.
We just got our first whatevs of the day.
You got a whatevs. You know I'm tired when I start doing that. So too many late nights here. Goodness gracious. Back to the task at hand. Nelson Cruz, Adam Jones. I don't know if you want somebody with the 517 WOBA this season against righties or lefties. You got to take Adam Jones. not Adam Pac-Man Jones, but Adam Jones, the former Mariner, who's going back to Safeco Field. Though he never really played there, so it's not like it's a revenge game. But Nelson Cruz, dominating. Those two guys are just absolutely insane. Cruz, 3,700 over there on FanDuel. Little pricier on DraftKings. I'm paying all the way up for Adam Jones where I can. Speaking of 3,700 on FanDuel, Yasiel Puig, do not sleep on him. I initially missed him in my first wave of my lineups because I thought he'd be about 4,400, and I just didn't see him. So I'm like, oh, he must be above where I'm looking. No, he was below where I was looking. So don't get caught watching the paint dry with that. Jose Bautista, Joey Bats. What do you think about old Joey Bats today? The king of the double dong potential.
Yeah, I like some other options when we're talking top tier guys, but he's a guy where you can't get mad at a guy who plays Joey Bats in any situation, really, right? I mean, a guy that can hit 50 home runs on a season. He's got double dong potential. I'm not going to have him in my lineup. Hopefully that's, I'm not going to regret it, but I like some other guys today that I feel that you need to get in there.
Would two of those guys at the lower end potentially be Matt Joyce or Kevin Kiermaier? I'm sad Kiermaier's batting ninth, but Joyce batting third, lefty-righty matchup.
Yeah, Joyce is absolutely going to be in my lineups today. Already covered it. I think that the Rays lefties are in a good position to do some damage today. And the price is pretty solid. You can plug them in and still pay up in other positions. Your outfield is littered with 4K plus guys. So anytime you can get a guy that's got the numbers and he's not in the 4 or 5K range, go ahead and plug him in there and allow yourself to get some of those other guys. I think Christian Yelich is another guy that since coming back he's been murdering the ball. So he's flying under the radar again somehow. In the beginning of the season he did, and then people caught on, and now he went on the DL. He comes back, he's crushing the ball, and he's under the radar again. Go ahead and plug him in, guys. He is a good hitter versus right-handed pitching.
I completely agree. Giancarlo Stanton, good player, pricey but good. Andre Ethier, Andre, lefty-righty matchup. Is it worthwhile?
Sure. Maybe. I mean, I was watching the Dodgers game the other day, and they showed, I can't remember who it was, but I know Ethier was one of them, and they showed their stats from last year at the same point to this year. It's just ridiculous how much lower these guys are hitting. 1 year removed, and these guys aren't old. I mean, we're not talking about guys that are getting near 40 years old or anything. We're not talking about Jeters. We're not talking about Utley or whoever. We're talking about guys that should maintain a pretty close split to what they did the season before, and they're just not doing it. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't know who's playing that day. They wake up in the morning and, who could be in the outfield. It could be, Crawford. It could be Ethier. It could be Van Slyke. It could be Puig. It could be any of these guys. And I really think once the Dodgers unload one of those outfielders, they'll be in a better position to get some consistency out there.
Well, the other reason why they are not performing as well is they're tired. They're lugging all the money around. The boom bada, their wallets be getting Prada. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Oh, man. I don't even know what to say about that. Boom bada, their wallets. God, what do you say?
Just a rap song from way back in the day.
Who is that? I don't recognize that.
I don't know. Well, it's not Eric B. and Rakim. I know that. It's not Kool Moe Dee. It's the Wild Wild West. Speaking of the Wild Wild West, this has nothing to do with that here nor there, but we've got Marlon Byrd out there. Mm-hmm. Marlon. That had him and Jason Castro in my lineups, and I changed. It's about 3 minutes left. Of course, those two guys hit early home runs, and I was kicking myself up until Clayton Kershaw came in and saved the day for my teams. But I do like Marlon Byrd again today. I think that about covers it for outfield. I mean, there's plenty of more out there. Prado, they're throwing out there. He's multi-position eligible. I think he is a decent option. Darren Ruff, we mentioned him. He is cheaper. Josh Harrison, you can still get him on outfield. Oh, how can I forget? Oakland. You know who plays for Oakland besides Coco Crisp and Josh Reddick? That would
So,
be Ioannis Cespedes.
and his thumb. Yeah. Hey, he still got a job done. Yeah, I don't know. I he's a guy that always eludes me. I tend to pick him on nights where he looks like he's gonna light up the world, and it just duds. I shouldn't be like that. I preach don't do that. Don't not play a guy because you have a little bit of bias because he's hurt you in the past. Andrew McCutcheon, and yet he seems to be one of those guys for me that I just can't roster on the right day.
All right, I'm scrolling through. I think we've covered. Curtis Granderson, Lucas Duda.
If you're fading Jimmy Nelson, yeah, why not? Duda is one of those guys given the shot now since they moved Davis out. He's done nothing but produce versus right-handed pitching. I don't think they're in the greatest spots. There's other guys that I like better, but they've both been getting it done. Duda more so, but yeah, don't hate it.
And this one is for Toast Jones 21. Are there any Angels in your outfield today?
There aren't, and the reason is they're priced up. I think we've said it over and over today. If you're going to get the pitching, you have to kind of find those mid-level guys that are going to be in good positions. Trout's a guy you can roster any day you want to, pretty much, if you can fit him in your lineup. I just can't today, especially getting a guy like Upton or McCutcheon, and you're not going to get both of those in, or all three or two of those guys in. So, sure, why not? You can play the Angels. I just don't know that unless there's one of them that's underpriced and I'm missing them, I don't think I'll have any on my team. On DraftKings, one thing I do like to do, though, is try to get guys that are playing later in the day or whatever, and that seems to be they have lower ownership. Like tonight will be the Dodgers. They'll have lower ownership because they're in the late game. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed it with the Angels a lot. The Angels and the A's, when they're at home, even in a good spot, their ownership tends to be way lower than I would have expected. So, just want to throw that out.
Especially on late swap side. I don't mind playing the guys in the later games because of that. But if I don't have lineups out, I won't play them, especially on Sundays, because you never know who's going to rest. But if I'm in an early lock, it's not worth it. But you would think that it translates over that late swap would have more of them. It's odd. We just don't. Very interesting. All right, let's roll through our Star Street pick 5 here, and we'll see if it brings up any other conversations about some players we haven't mentioned. Miguel Cabrera or Paul Goldschmidt? There it is. We both like Goldie today. Where are you going to land? I'm rolling with Goldie.
I am too. I hate picking against Miggy, but today I already mentioned it. He's my top guy at first base, so I'm rolling Goldie.
All right, Giancarlo Stanton or Yasiel Puig? I'm going to go with Stanton. We didn't really mention Colin McHugh. He's making his first start since June 6th, coming off the disabled list for a finger issue. I can't remember exactly what it is. That's a long time without starts. I believe he did have one rehab start, but if he makes any mistakes, Stanton's going to take him deep. Yelich has a good shot at a double or taking him deep. I'm going to go with Stanton, even over Puig, and I like Puig today, but Stanton for me.
Yeah, I like both also. Stanton, that short porch and left in Houston, if he pulls the ball, it's not going to take much with that swing, so don't be surprised if you see a home run today by Stanton.
Brandon Moss, Corey Dickerson. I'm leaning Dickerson.
Yeah, I'll go Dickerson as well. Moss, he's been a little bit inconsistent lately. He was on fire prior to the All-Star break, but and he did have a grand slam the other night. I know that. I think he was 1 for 4 with the grand slam. But I'll go Dickerson. I think he's been more consistent, believe it or not.
All right. Ben Zobrist or Robinson Cano? Your top second baseman versus my top second baseman.
Yeah, I got to stick to my guns and go Zobrist here. Cano's not a bad play. You laid out plenty of reasons why you should play Cano too. I just think that the Rays left-handed bats are going to do some major damage today. I'm going to go Zobrist.
All right. I'm not against that, but this is where we're drawing the line. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. It's high noon. I'm sticking to my guns. You're sticking to your guns. Let's go grab a sarsaparilla. I don't really feel like shooting you. So there we go. And lastly, we have Carlos Santana versus Fat Matt Adams, who, by the way, he was on one of the Sunday Night Baseball games, and my wife came into the room, and I said, "What do you think of that guy?" And she's like, "Isn't he kind of big?"
Yeah. Yeah, he is, and he's actually slimmed down a little bit.
I know he's not like Prince Fielder big or Bartolo Colon big, but he's not svelte.
Yeah, I'll go with Adams in this matchup, and it might be a homer pick, but if you look at the stats, they say that he has been more consistent all year long, and he has the home run upside just as much as Santana does. I'm going Adams.
Yeah, 9 of his 12 home runs have been since June, so I think he's doing much better. So to recap it, we have Goldie, Giancarlo Stanton, Dickerson. We're splitting on Zobrist and Cano, and we're going with Matt Adams. I like this 750 to win 150. I'm going to go with that. I don't know. It's a psychological weird number, so we'll see what happens. I'm due to win one of these. I haven't. I've been covering. I play the pick 5 and then the 3, and I've been doing a pretty good job to get one, but I haven't hit the pick 5 in a couple of weeks. So of course I haven't been playing, but that's probably part of it. Got to play to win. And let's finish her off here with a rapid fire max. Chad, if you have any last second questions, put those in. We'll circle back on them real quick. Are you ready, Andrew?
Ready.
David Wright, Bryce Harper. Neither player was mentioned by us today. I think Latos is good. I am going with David Wright by default.
Oh, man. I honestly don't like either guy. I'm going to go Harper here. I don't like either play today. I'll go Harper.
All right. Ben Zobrist or Matt Carpenter. Here's where I join forces with you and go with Zobrist.
Yep.
Jose Altuve or Jimmy Rollins? We'll go with Altuve.
Yeah.
Matt Holliday, Marlon Byrd. We didn't mention Matt Holliday.
Holliday's been hitting the ball well. He's historically a better hitter in the second half, and I'm still going Marlon Byrd today.
I concur. And lastly, Lucas Duda or Curtis Granderson. I'm going to go with Duda.
I'll go Duda as well. Look at his stats since Davis left for Pittsburgh. Wow, he's been a really good player. I'll go Duda.
All right, so we have Wright, Zobrist, Altuve, Bird, Duda. You are going with Bryce Harper. Despite my many Nationals hats behind me, I am still going to stick with David Wright. My last thought of, speaking of righty-righty matchup, third baseman, I'm liking some, why is his name blanking? Casey McGahee. He's in a good spot. Okay, let's rip through a few questions here. Melky or Yelich in cash games? I am going with Yelich.
Who was the first one?
Melky Cabrera.
Melky, I'll go Yelich as well.
Zobrist or D. Gordon? I'm going to go Zobrist.
I will as well. D. Gordon is a good GPP play today, I think, though, guys. Just throwing that out there.
D. Gordon or Rutledge? I believe Rutledge is at a discount on most sites. I will still go with Rutledge.
Yeah.
Hey, EMac, did you see Cliff Clavin threw out the first pitch at the Texas Rangers game yesterday? I did not. That is pretty nifty. Danny Santana on DK. I think Danny Santana is a sneaky player. He's actually pretty good. He's not getting a lot of this hype as a newcomer heading on up. I think he and David Peralta also are under a lot of people's radar. I think they have excellent skills. I think if you can get them when the pricing algorithm kind of hiccups because they're both so new, I think those are both nice plays.
And he's back up at the one spot. So that's the thing about him that was frustrating is they moved him down a couple times in seemingly good spots. So, yeah, Santana looks good to me today. Somebody we didn't talk about earlier.
Yes, that is true. And we'll finish her off with one guy we did not mention. Adrian Gonzalez today going against Peavy. I actually like the matchup. I'm not against playing Gonzalez. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mentioned him. I called him Gonzo, but yeah.
Well, I wasn't paying attention at that time.
Well, obviously. Yeah, we were talking about the weather here in St. Louis when there's a game in Chicago. It happens.
It happens. It happens. Chat, I won't let you down next time. There will be more than 3.5 sodas consumed before I set foot on air. But
Yeah.
with that, I do want to say thank you, DraftKings, for sponsoring our show. Thank you, Roto Grinders. Any last words?
Good luck out there today, guys.
All right. Same at it. Good luck, gamers.